The form was great for V for Vendetta because it allows for powerful angles and camera shots that impact the way the audience views certain scenes. A notable example would be part of V's speech in the shot, "You need only look into a mirror."
If you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror.
They show V and Evie across from one another, almost as if they were each other's reflections. This clues the audience that V and Evie share common traits. Another example would be when V is talking about the Chancellor to all of London over the government's audio and visual system. Whenever V says, "He promised you order, he promised you peace," the camera pans in on government officials loading weapons.
Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent.
By showing what the government's idea of order and peace looks like, the producers clearly demonstrate the divide between a powerful government and fearful citizens. If the format were any different, it would be difficult to get the same effect. This scene is Evie's transformation from a scared citizen to a fearless activist, just like V. Camera angles aren't the only way form is presented in V for Vendetta. Cross-cutting is a technique film producers use when switching back and forth between two or more scenes in order to create a parallel for the viewers. While Evie is shown holding her arms out enjoying her freedom, the camera cuts to V, busting out of a similar situation. This direct correlation between V and Evie shows how they're one and the same. The message the author was trying to get across in V for Vendetta is to think for yourself. Alan Moore states that he didn't want to tell people what to think, he just wanted to tell people to think. V is an individual who is thinking for himself, which allows him to see the corruption and injustice others don't. The audience should look to V as motivation to ask questions and do something about their world before it becomes as corrupt as Britain in V for Vendetta. Though some could argue the United States is already that corrupt, and that President Trump is our Chancellor Adam Sutler. V for Vendetta and Fight Club both have surprisingly similar plots and themes. These movies inspire viewers to take control of their own lives, but warn you can't until you've hit rock bottom. Tyler Durden once said, "It's only once you've lost everything that you're free to do anything." When it comes to Evie's rebirth, this is true. The same can be said about Jack whenever he creates Tyler, or the men of Fight Club when they graduate to space monkeys. Both movies are about fearful people being enslaved to oppressive systems. After hitting rock bottom and being reborn, they are no longer fearful and are ready to take their problems head on. Whether it is Project Mayhem, setting everyone's debt back to zero, or V and Evie dismantling Northfire, the next step for these fearless activists is organized chaos in the name of freedom. V's mask is a historical reference to the gunpowder plot of 1605. Known as a Guy Fawkes mask, the mask is a stylized depiction of Guy Fawkes himself, a famous British terrorist. The gunpowder plot was planned by a group of radical Catholics, including Guy Fawkes. Their goal was to restore a Catholic on the English throne so that they could practice their religion without being persecuted. Though their plan to assassinate the Protestant ruler of England, King James I, by blowing up Parliament failed, it left a permanent mark in history. The textual analysis of V for Vendetta could go on forever. For instance, I'll examine the significance of the quote, "The best place for evil to hide is behind the appearance of virtue." High Chancellor Adam Sutler is a bigot who tries to contain and control the population for his own gain, while still presenting himself as a righteous, holy man, as seen from the propaganda picture of him to the left. Though V is the real hero of the story, he is labeled a radical terrorist. At the beginning of the movie, Evie is almost raped by the fingermen or police, but V saves her. Shortly thereafter, V plays music over the government's audio system. Chancellor Sutler puts the song V played on the blacklist, so it'll never be played again, to remind the population that he is in control. A final example would be whenever Evie's boss, Gordon, is murdered for making fun of the High Chancellor on his television show. Everywhere the citizens of London turn, there is injustice coming from those who swore to protect, and justice from so-called terrorists. The quote, "The best place for evil to hide is behind the appearance of virtue," also applies to Bishop Anthony Lilliman. He is supposed to be a moral leader through challenging times, but instead is a highly corrupt man who gives racist sermons. Lilliman was the chaplain at Larkhill Detention Center, and his job was to monitor the rules and rights violations. However, his £200,000 a month salary was more than enough to keep him silent, while Commander Lewis Prothero and others worked on the St. Mary's virus. This same virus, the fastest government Norse fire used to kill thousands of people. On top of this, he regularly sends for child prostitutes, a fact that's well known among the government officials and apparently condoned. Before assassinating the bishop for his ungodly actions, V quotes, "I clothe my naked villainy with old odd ends stolen forth from Holy Writ and seem a saint, when most I play the devil." V uses this Shakespeare quote in reference not to himself, but to the bishop's hiding of his true evil nature behind the illusion of a righteous man. Another Shakespeare quote from V that is easily related to the bishop's situation would be, "We are oft to blame in this, 'tis too much proved, that with devotion's visage and pious action do we sugar o'er the devil himself." This quote can be explained simply, we are to blame for the evil that we pretend is good, or the evil that we coat in sugar. If you enjoyed the movie Fight Club, I would highly recommend checking out the movie V for Vendetta. Whenever I started the movie, I thought I'd never make it through, but as I learned, looks are deceiving. V for Vendetta made me step back and take a hard look at everything and everyone around me. I see the corruption everywhere, from our public leaders and police officers, to our school administration and students. I now see how I unknowingly played my part in corrupt systems every day. Alan Moore did an excellent job at opening my eyes to my own reality. Corruption is everywhere. To find it, you just have to pay attention.